Joining me now, Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff, a member of the House Select Committee on Benghazi. Were you surprised to hear your colleague Kevin McCarthy say what he said?
Surprised only in the sense that he was speaking out loud what we have long suspected, so it was a much more blatant acknowledgement of the real purpose of this select committee. But that purpose has been apparent for quite some time. A month ago, I wrote an op-ed in the New York Times calling for the committee to be disbanded because here we are, as you point out, one of the longest investigations in history. After having promised the families it would be a nonpartisan, neutral inquiry, we have nothing new to add to what was already known about Benghazi. We have no new insights, no new revelations or evidence. And I think we have really betrayed the trust of those families that we met with at the beginning of the investigation. So it's time to shut this down. What Representative McCarthy merely did was to acknowledge the truth at the very highest levels of the Republican leadership in the House. This has always been and remains all about Hillary Clinton and has very little to do with the facts of Benghazi.
Well, if that's the case, let me ask you this. There was a considerable group of voices when this committee was first created that said that it was clear what the purpose of the committee was, and Democrats should play no part in it, that they should refuse to appoint anyone to that committee. The Democratic Party, under the leadership of Nancy Pelosi, decided to appoint members such as yourself. Was that a mistake?
Well, look, Chris, I was actually the first to say that I thought Democrats should not participate in the select committee because I feared this is exactly where we would go. Our leadership debated it, and frankly, even though that was my position, it was a close call. Had we not participated, of course, the committee would have even less oversight by the minority party. We'd had less voice when they were calling in witnesses and abusing them. So it was a tough call, and I can't say that it was the wrong call. But certainly the fears that I expressed at the very beginning have only materialized, and that is this has not been about what took place on that tragic night when we lost 4 Americans. This has been, as Representative McCarthy said, this is the way they have decided to fight and win in the elections, by tearing down the likely Democratic nominee.
Is there anything Congressman Gowdy, who now has presided over the longest congressional investigation in history, apparently, is there anything he can do to repair the trust or credibility of this committee's work?
No, I don't think so. I think that water is well under the bridge by now. And we have to bear in mind, this is only the latest and most blatant acknowledgement of what the Select Committee is about. But if you look at the way the committee has operated, notwithstanding these promises that were made by the Speaker and by our chairman in the very beginning, they have not worked with Democrats at all. They've called witnesses without telling us. They've subpoenaed people, with armed marshals who are willing to cooperate. And they have interviewed witnesses without even notifying the minority party. And when those witness interviews didn't corroborate their conspiracy theories, they didn't even tell us. We had to learn about those interviews ourselves.
Wait.
So,
let me make sure that I understand that. The committee has interviewed witnesses without notifying Democrats on the committee that those interviews were going to happen?
Absolutely. They've interviewed several witnesses. They didn't tell us they were going to interview them. They didn't invite us to participate and listen to the interviews. And when we later found out those interviews took place and we talked to those witnesses, we learned, of course, that they didn't corroborate any of the conspiracy theories Republicans have been trying to advance. So no wonder they didn't tell us about the interviews.
How can that be? I mean, that's not. Maybe I'm wrong here. That's not the way that committees work. I mean, there's an agenda that is circulated to the entire committee. There's a list of witnesses. There's a procedure that the committee is all read in on.
Well, they've just ignored it. And in fact, to give you yet another example, when they subpoenaed a witness, and this is a church, said he won't leak transcripts, won't leak interviews. After almost all the interviews, there have been profound leaks from the committee. And when Democrats said, if you're going to leak the statements of the witness, why don't you release the entire transcript? If you're going to leak emails from this witness, release the entire transcript of their private interview so the public can evaluate the context. And we have the right under their own rules to have a vote on this, and they've denied us even a vote on it.
Well.